Mr. Eric Lovestrand.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
I just wanted to highlight one item from my written report. We had very good participation from the county this year in our Ag Adventures event. That's kind of a district-wide ag education event up at the Quincy Research and Education Farm. We had over 60 students and their teachers there this year from Franklin County, so they had a really good opportunity to learn about how our agricultural commodities are grown and produced and harvested and how important they are in our regional economy. So I was very pleased with increased participation this year. And I think Michael had a note that might be relative.
Commissioners, I'm sorry, my report, item number 9. Informed the board that I spoke to Mr. Nick Place of the University of Florida's Office of Dean for Extension and Florida. Dean Place and I discussed the possibility of looking at additional funding for the new facility here in Franklin County. Currently, there are 2 possibilities for funding. The first is when the county submits its funding request to the legislature, we make funding for the facility a priority. The other is asking Mr. Pierce and Dewberry to consider it as part of our restore request. Is the board willing to make funding for the facility its #1 priority to the legislature?
We did last year.
Yeah, well, we'll need to do it again, but that's the first step, Commissioners. I mean, if the board isn't willing to do that, then I'm not sure that Allen and we could go to Allen and Dewberry to discuss restore funding. I don't know. I mean, there's a shortfall, and we got to figure out if it's worth moving forward, if the facility is worth it to the county or not. And the first step will be, like we did before, go into the legislature and say, hey, this is our #1 priority. We need as much money as we can to finish this facility. I will say Dean Place did indicate to me that if he feels that there is a possibility of funding, he's willing to, #1, move forward with the project and consider doing it in phases. But he feels that the majority of the money will be to repair the building, like the roof and the air conditioning system. So stuff has to be done before anybody could get into the building. And he thinks that's where a chunk of the money is going to go. So doing it in phases is an alternative, but he feels that that doesn't solve the immediate problem of all the money that's needed to work on the building before anyone could move in there.
How much money they talking about spending on this building?
Well, when you add up all of the numbers, the dean actually, in my conversation with Michael, had added in, I think, about $200,000 to what the shortfall for the construction piece of it was. And that was to cover some of the basic infrastructure needs that would be needed in the building to get it operational, like phone system, chairs and tables for the auditorium, security system. There were several pieces of that added up to another pretty good sized chunk.
Total renovation was about $800,000.
He told me.
Yeah.
$800,000 for that.
Well-
for that small place.
Oh, total renovation. He said the shortfall, he said to me yesterday, was close to between $550,000 and $600,000.
I'd like for Michael to look it over and check it out, see if it's worth us going forward with that type of money.
It don't work. Oh,
You know,
$600,000.
to check the,
Yeah, the contractor's cost
read up
just
on
for
it,
the
see.
construction was like $824,000 in the quote that they got. And that didn't include several other little pieces that have kind of popped in there. One was the paving cost, which was coming from the legislative funding portion that the county had already received. The other was architectural fees. There was replacement of a couple of air handlers in the attic that are really needed. They're in poor condition. That wasn't figured into that original cost. So it just kept bumping things up, and
They done the
that's the
same
stage
thing
we're at.
out here on the Chapman building. They go and put these high prices on them just cause it's state money and government money. But that building don't worth no $800,000 to fix it. It didn't cost that much to build it.
Yeah, it was built back in 1984. I'm not sure what the original cost was, but
I know they keep adding to it, because we started, we had a little, what was it, 200,000 or?
We asked for $300,000 for the legislature at our fall.
250.
Yeah.
That's right. And
Yeah.
the university had 250
Well, the dean has actually made the commitment that they're willing to stand by the funds that they had put together to put into the project, and when I added those numbers up, it was about $310,000. So he's willing to honor that commitment going forward and keep that.
If the board
Right. I mean, because
gives them the
there's not
surety that
enough
they'll
if we
look
don't
for
secure
additional funding. He
Right.
also, the commissions, he also asked about alternatives, and I said, unfortunately, sir, we don't have that many buildings in the county. He said, because we could use the money to fix something already. I said, the Armory, that's where they were before, and that's where they'll have to return if, if we don't do anything about this facility. Now, I mean, I don't know, I have to talk to Mark to see what can be done for them at the Armory. I mean, I'm gonna talk to you about phase 2 of the Armory renovation projects here shortly, so.
Is it a room to put a lab and all that? to do
No,
what
no,
you-
no, no, it'll just be offices, no, sir. It'll just be 2 or 3 offices for them, that's
They was
it.
gonna put a lab in and all that was down here at the end.
Yeah, that's not, you can't do that at the Armory.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, ma'am.
Michael,
Ma'am?
I really have a problem, I'm gonna go on out and say it, I really have a problem doing this, because we were asked last year to let that be our legislative priority, and we did.
Mhm.
We helped get the $250,000. And also, we lived up to our end of the bargain, because we paved that parking lot down there on the pretense that they were gonna move into it. And I'd like to know what the University of Florida is doing to try to get the funding. Is he basically sitting there and saying, if y'all want it, y'all, I mean, Eric, is he doing that? Is Dean Place
Place.
doing that? Saying if y'all want the building, you all put in for legislative priority? and
Well,
then-
I think that's the only place he sees the possibility, because he's already pulled together 300 and something thousand on campus, committed from 3 different departments, and that's all that they can pull together at this
So
point.
altogether, so you say he's gotten up 300,000, and then the 250 we've got, that's 550,000? You all can't do something with $550,000 to make that building better, to where you can move into it and serve a purpose here in the county?
I would have thought so, but when
You
you
could
start
build a new
looking at the
building.
contractor numbers.
Build a new building.
Well, right, that's the other.
To renovate and build a new building with the $550,000.
I think the dean has asked that question, is that something that could be done? And I don't know the answer to that. I mean, it's
I do,
something
you
that
can
would
build it for that
involve.
type of money instead of rebuilding old one.
I think you can renovate it for 550,000
Easy.
also.
Well, Mr. Chairman, it's not a historic building, is it? It was built in '84.
No.
No.
Not at all.
I think it would be cheaper to start a new, tear it down, build it new. You could do it for 500, I bet.
What I'm worried about though is why did the Department of Environmental Protection keep it all them years if it was in such bad disarray? You know?
Well, part of it is it's
I'm
been
concerned.
vacant for a few years, actually, since they moved out of there in 2011. Yeah, there's a few things in that budget that would not be essential, I'm sure, but as Michael said, the dean expressed that the biggest chunk of it is what they feel the facilities folks have evaluated and feel that they have to do to make that building livable and up to code. That's what it is and what we got to think about.
I think you could rebuild that thing for $250,000 and have some change. If you stop going through the process they're going through.
Mr. Chairman, do we have a process where we can have some evaluation done, and determine if it'd be cheaper to tear it down and start anew, or?
Well, Chris, I don't know, it's our place, it's not our building, and we'll never be. our
Right.
building.
Yeah.
Whenever it's going to be, make that decision.
Yeah.
Well, actually, right now, the facility, it's DEP still, in terms
The
of,
DEP would access that.
They have the
too,
lease
I'm
with
sure.
the Board of
That's what the
Trustees.
plan
They
is.
could, I mean, they could, if University of Florida is standing in line saying we want the building, assume we can get it renovated, but if they back out, then I think DEP would, right, put this building up for surplus. We would be one of the eligible people to ask for it. We wouldn't necessarily be the only one, but we would be eligible.
I'm not suggesting we spend a lot of money to make that determination, but before we commit to an $800,000 renovation, if it could be done more cheaply, I think we'll look at that.
We can send our inspector in there and he can look at it. Can't we do that?
Our
Yeah, I
building,
mean-
building official?
Some of
Yeah,
this
the
stuff,
building.
I mean, the renovations are, I mean, I haven't seen the list exactly what all the Universal Florida wants, so some of this stuff may be specific to their needs, which a general building inspector would appreciate, like the lab. I mean, the lab may be $300,000, and we're gonna say, oh, well, where's all that money going? We wouldn't understand where that money's going.
But they don't have a lab in there yet.
There is a lab in there now, but it needs to be updated.
Oh, okay.
Well, it's an empty room. That used to be a lab.
Okay.
Right, and that's what they were talking about, refurbishing and recreating as a lab.
I'm like Mr. Norton,
We
this
have-
government money, everybody wants to overcharge and
Eric, let me
There's
ask
a
you-
list with
let me
all
ask you
the
a question.
costs that somebody could look at to see what's
Let
in
me
there.
ask, so let's say the county is able to get this building, and we say we're gonna renovate it, and you can have it then. Would the university continue to, I guess, can we use their $300,000? Or would they pull back and say, if it's not to our standards, you can't use our money?
I don't know the answer to that. We'd have to do some checking.
Is that a question you want me to ask the dean, or you ask him? I don't mind. I mean, I don't work for him. He
It's
can
a
get mad
bigger
at me if he wants to.
conversation, yeah, than what I've had with those folks so far. And conversations between the facilities people and the dean are kind of where this is taking place, so it doesn't get down to my level to some degree in that conversation. So either way, Michael, I mean, if you directed me to check into specific questions like that, I'll be
Well,
happy to
Eric,
do that.
Really, the university's not showing no good faith, because if they got $300,000, look like they should have put that towards the first phase, or done. They just want to sit on it till they get the whole thing.
Well,
They'd
I
rather
think he
sit on
needs
it
to sit on it
and
until
just
he
let it-
gets a commitment for what they feel like they're gonna need to do it,
But if they'd have started,
yeah.
you could look at something and say, well, I done this here, and I need this much to finish. But
Yeah.
nobody gonna get them no $800,000 on that place around there. If they do it, I would. I mean, I'm not gonna vote to spend the kind of money on that. I don't know about the rest of them. I just can't do it.
Well, what we're talking about, we're not talking about 800,000. The university's got 310, we got 250 from the state, that's $560,000. And they're $600,000 short. That's over $1 million.
Right.
So, $1.1 million to renovate this building. That's the bottom line, that's the total of the figure, not 800,000, but 1.1 million.
you could build a beautiful building for $1 million.
So that's,
Well, that one would be beautiful if you put $1 million into
It's
it,
$1
but
million.
I understand what you're saying.
This building right here was $1 million.
Yeah. And then we can.
Just to be able to progress this on, because, I mean, we're taking a lot of time on it, and I don't want to shoot the messenger. I mean, Eric's
Yes,
here, we
Thank
don't
you.
want to shoot him. I would think that we need to ask Michael Morone to get with Dean Place again and let him know the concerns of the commissioners and see what we can do to remedy that, and let's just table this item for right now, not take up no action on it.
Okay, that's
Check
fine.
with
I'll
him.
give him a call, let him know how you guys feel about it.
I think you need to let the dean know how the commissioners feel about it also, that our original agreement was that they, that we would put that in on there as our legislative priority last year, and that we would go in there and agree to paving the parking lot, and then the rest of it would go to the university.
Yeah,
And just
and-
tell them that, through the cooperative effort, we want to have something there, but at the same time, we can't let this be a legislative priority every time you turn around.
Okay.
Okay?
Commissioners,
A
I would-
motion to table it. You ever need a motion to table?
I so moved.
You have a motion second for all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Eric.
Thank you, appreciate it, Commissioners.
We're gonna take a 5-minute recess and we'll come back. Board of County Commissioners now back in section. Alex, come up, sir. You next, I got him. Governor Graham's office.
Congresswoman.
Not yet.
Governor Graham.
Good morning, Commissioners. It's good to see y'all, and I just want to remind y'all that here, starting in about 5 minutes,
Thank
the Congresswoman will be holding, we'll have our office hours over here at the courthouse, and any constituents, y'all know if they're having any issues with federal agencies, we're here to be of assistance.
When is that?
Here in about 5 minutes, right next door at the courthouse. or if they'd like to let the Congresswoman know any of their thoughts on any issues, or if they're having any issues with any federal agencies, we're there to assist as best we can.
I passed it now.
Anybody got anything for Alex? Thank you, Alex.
Yes, sir. Looking forward to seeing y'all later on this month, well, next month at the Seafood Festival.
All right. All right, Miss Kate Library,
Ms. Caglione.
at the end.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Come on.
I'm Kate Aguirre. I'm the Chairman of the Library Advisory Board. Per your approval last week, the opening for the director position will appear in the paper starting this week. As has been done in the past, the Library Advisory Board is working on forming a committee to interview all applicants, and then we will present our recommendation to you. I'm here to request that in the meantime, Eugenia Butler be named the interim library director. With your approval and the support of the advisory board, Eugenia will maintain her current library duties and also assume the critical administrative functions necessary to the management of the Carabel and the East Point Library and staff.
You work on the library now?
She does, yes. She's a full-time library assistant and cataloger.
And she's been the acting before.
She has. She filled in between the last two directors. She acted as interim, and she also has her Master's of Library Science.
She got enough?
She does.
I mean, is there a motion?
What we've
I've got discussion.
What we've done in the past is we've always had, in between the interim directors, between the directors, we've always had our staff kind of let the libraries report to them. You know, the staff person, we've had Alan do it, and we've had, could have Michael do it, so instead of putting somebody in there that, you know, that's just my thoughts.
I do know that 3 years ago, Eugenia was named the interim director. I know that she worked to work on the day-to-day operations, to approve bills, to approve timesheets, things of that sort. I do think that we've spoken with Mr. Marone about staying in the loop about any continuing staff issues, and the advisory board has committed to also being of any assistance that we can be.
Michael, have you talked to anybody about this?
Yes, ma'am. She sent me, Kate sent me an email, refresh me, last week?
Last week.
Well, yes, after they met on Thursday?
Thursday, yes.
Saying that was their recommendation, and to make her interim.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
How many workers we got between both libraries?
How many, I'm sorry?
How many workers we got between both?
We have 3 full-time and 1 part-time
Part-time,
employee.
2.5, yeah.
That's between both?
Between both, yes, sir. That does not include the director position, which is vacant right now.
Michael, how long?
You got a,
Go ahead.
you got a director and
We have a director and 4 staff members. Yes, sir, 3 full-time and 1 part-time.
2 full-times over in East Point, and then Carabel has a full-time and a part-time.
so the director over all of them, right?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Did, you gonna run how many, 2-week ad?
Yes, I'm running the ad in the local newspaper for 2 weeks. I think the close date is the 21st, if I'm not mistaken.
That's what we
And then
posted
from that,
it as,
based
yes.
on the pool that we get, you know, I'll confer with the advisory board and see if they want to run it, extended to, I don't know, the 2 neighboring counties, or as far as Bay and Leon.
Let's see what we get in our county right here first before we try to hire in
That's
our
what I was
county.
saying,
Yeah.
Commissioner. That's why I ran it locally for 2 weeks.
Right.
So like Kate said, it should be in this Thursday's edition and then the following Thursday's edition.
And I believe last time we did not have the need to go outside into the other
Okay.
counties. I believe we had a pool of applicants, a large enough pool that we could do the interviews based on.
So we're just advertising this, if I'm not
Give her a
mistaken?
couple weeks, that's
Just for
what I
a
said,
couple
Michael
weeks?
could just oversee it for a couple, 3 weeks, until we can go ahead and hire somebody, they just report to Michael for a couple, 3 weeks, then come back and we do our hiring.
Is it, I thought we normally advertise this for 30 days, we're only required, what is the requirement on that?
I don't know if it's a requirement or not, Commissioner. Why I was worried about that, if we didn't get a good, a pool or any responses locally, I didn't want to run it out too long, and then we go longer and longer and longer without having a director in place. So I kind of did it for 2 weeks, let's see what we get, and then from there, you know, I'll confer, you know, with the library advisory board and say we should go beyond. You know,
So it's running this week, and it's
It'll
gonna
be
run
this
next
Thursday,
week?
yes, sir, and then next Thursday.
You're
yes.
gonna
And
get
it-
some
and it-
applications.
And then we're gonna have a meeting after that, right?
We meet on the, 2 weeks from today, yes, sir? 20th. Oh, that's right. Today's the 4th? 18th, yes, sir, on the 18th.
So it'll run for 2 weeks, and then we'll have a meeting the following Tuesday.
Yes. Now, the application date does close the Friday after our meeting, but I could tell you in 2 weeks from now how many applicants we've gotten thus far.
Okay.
And I'm sure this will be advertised, this will be televised on Monday, so that, and I'm sure, I guess you guys are trying to get the word out also.
Yes, we are.
So, yeah, I think in 2 weeks, I could tell you, we got a good pool there or not.
We can do it on November the 1st to hire.
Yeah, if we got.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
He's asking if we think we'd have somebody in place by November the 1st.
No, I don't think that's
with
reasonable. I think if
interviews,
the position doesn't close until October 21st, to have the interviews and to have someone,
I would say mid-November. is a more
right,
realistic
mid-November
date.
would probably be if someone's leaving another job, they most likely would have to give 2 weeks' notice. I think mid-November would be the absolute soonest. I think December 1st would be.
Well, who's gonna do the picking, or the interviewing?
The Library Advisory Board in the past, we've always formed a committee to interview the applicants. We interviewed 11 last time.
Yeah.
And then we come to you, the commissioners. We give you our recommendation, and then you guys actually are the ones, obviously, that do the hiring.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you how it was done the last time, to be very honest with you.
The library board here for the,
Mhm.
I have a question too. Aren't we also looking at the policies and procedures?
Yes, that's continuing, yes, sir.
And so that needs to be done.
That'll be done at the same time, yes.
Concurrently,
Yes,
yes.
Oh, it's gonna be set up at the same time to go in.
And I will admit, I got kind of thrown off schedule because of Ann's, sudden retirement, so yes, but I'm still working towards that goal.
Well, since we've had an interim director in the past and this employee has served as interim director, I think we should take the recommendation of the advisory board and I'll make that motion.
I have to say something. I don't usually say anything like this, but I have a concern with the head of the advisory board being the sister-in-law of the interim director.
I'm the head of the advisory board.
Excuse me, Miss Kate.
Yeah.
Hold on just a minute. Let
Okay,
me
yes.
finish what I'm saying, and then you'll have plenty of opportunity to respond what I said. It doesn't matter who they represent. The thing I have a problem with is we don't do things like that. I mean, the interim director is going to be over all the libraries, and I don't have a problem with the person, but it just doesn't look right to have the interim director be the sister-in-law of the main person that stood up here at the last meeting on these issues with the library. So I'm just saying, I will be opposed to this myself because I just don't think it shows a good thing. I believe that, like I said, in the past, that we've had staff and we've also had the Wilderness Coast Library people come in and help us sometimes in the past. So, I mean, I'm trying to be fair about this.
Who is the sister-in-law? I missed this.
Eugenia Butler is the sister-in-law of Miss Denise Butler. The sister-in-law.
And while that is true, I still stand by our recommendation. The entire Library Advisory Board met last Thursday. We had a 3-hour meeting. We spoke in depth with Eugenia Butler, and we do think that she is, that she is the most qualified of the existing staff to be the interim director, and B, I don't know how Michael feels about this, but I think having a dedicated interim director is the better move than to having Michael fill in. Obviously, we will need assistance from the county coordinator, or Eugenia Butler would need assistance from the county coordinator, and we would avail ourselves of that, as needed. But
And she's not interested in applying for the director?
I don't believe so, no, sir.
So, you dealing with what? Just a short time.
A month.
You dealing with a month. Why do you need an interim for just a month?
And in the past, and like Michael, this is kind of a little bit before me, so I'm going off of what I learned. I know in the past, the interim director has worked to approve the timesheets, approve any expenditures that are coming through the library, obviously manage time and staff. You know, they don't usually try to take on any new programs, they don't try to make, broad sweeping changes or manage any of the greater things of the library, just to make sure that the day-to-day operations of the library are running smoothly.
And just like I say in the past, gentlemen, it's just my belief. You all can do as you please, but it's just my belief, and that's the way I feel. So.
Yeah, for Michael to handle it for, just for the
No,
month.
I'm not saying how to do it.
No,
I'm just
yeah.
saying the appearance of her being recommended by the same committee that your sister-in-law sits on, that does not show a good faith measure. The appearance is not good. So that's where I'm coming from on that. And Miss Eugenia, I hadn't got anything against her. I'm just saying it's the appearance of it. And that's what I always defer from it, so that's it.
Well, haven't it always been procedure that when you got family like that, they don't vote on it?
Well,
I mean, that's what,
Do you want to oversee it for a month, Michael, and do it?
I'll use the term that Mr. Pierce uses. I am here to do whatever the board directs me to do, commissioners. It's, that's your call. You guys tell me what you want done, and I'll do the best that I possibly can, commissioners.
normally when we got a boat like that and you got somebody close like that, they sustain from being in a part of that. I mean, I don't know. I guess that's what we do in the procedures, and the library is a part of the county system. So I think that should apply for that too. Alan, you been there, haven't we been doing that?
Well, I'm put some of the library problems out of my mind.
I'm not talking about the library, I'm talking about the whole thing.
I mean,
In general.
The difficulty, I'll be honest, is day-to-day. I'm sure Michael and myself, as I recall, are confident enough to make the decision that, something needs to be done, but the day-to-day, let's say someone doesn't come in, Michael's over here in the courthouse, he's not gonna know who didn't show up in the library, and, so without someone over there, sort of saying, oh, yeah, go, there's a shortfall in one of the branches today, you need to go there, I don't know who's gonna do that, he'll be over here and won't know about it until a little bit after it's, what happened. That's the only thing I see as a shortfall.
I wasn't talking about that, I was talking about when kin folks.
Well, I don't know if you can afford that in this small county.
I mean, I'm gonna oppose that because of how the printout was in the newspaper and all, and what was said, and then the sister-in-law gonna come in here and all was said in the newspaper. I just would rather Michael to do it for a month and until we hire somebody, get somebody aboard.
Well, I have a motion on the table, and I don't think it has a second. Call for a second.
Do I have a second? Do I have a second? Do I have a second? I have a second.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, may I
Yes,
ask,
sir.
is there someone that actually serves on the library advisory board that could be the interim director? Just for a month?
I think we're opening up a different can of worms there. I think there's several of us who are willing to assist and volunteer, but not being paid employees of the library. I think that, that may not be a rabbit hole we want to go down unless there's somebody you want to hire as an interim director, and then I think we're in a whole different, place. I think there's several of us who either singularly or together, would absolutely be willing to do that. And that's what we've pledged to, what we had pledged to Eugenia, if she considered this, was to be of assistance to her. So yes, I do think there is the will. I don't know if there is the way.
Make a motion, we put Mike over it for a month.
I have a motion on the floor, got a second?
I'm sorry, I'm writing them out, let's try to get Alan's attention. I'm sorry, Commissioner, go ahead.
I make a motion, we put Michael Marone over it for a month till we see what, we come back and go from there.
And that's to take care of the day-to-day stuff. And if there's any personnel concerns, then they are to contact Michael Marone.
Contact him.
And Michael Marone can take care of it at his will.
Yeah.
Okay, and the board will support him on that?
Yep.
Okay,
Yes.
I'll second that motion on that.
Michael's got the rules he's gonna stand by, and they're gonna stand by Michael's rules.
They stand by Michael's rules.
Exactly.
Okay.
Michael's rule.
For the rules that we got up and come
I
up,
was
yeah.
teasing, Commissioner. I'm fine.
I have a motion second on the floor, all in favor? All opposed? Motion carries.